In a residence in China, there was a man called Jack who participated in a world racing game competition. Based on some trophies that were displayed in his room, it can be assumed that Jack was a pro player in racing game. With a growing confidence in himself, Jack visited a street racing spot to prove his skill in the real racing track. In that street racing spot, Jack, who used Toyota AE86 Trueno, must face a mysterious man who used Porsche 911. But, when they were about to enter the first turn, Jack bounced off the racing track because he was late to press the brake pedal. Because of that accident, Jack realized that the car racing in real life was way much different from the car racing in game. The scene then took place in Shanghai Circuit, who held an Asia Super Professional car racing event. There was a racing driver from another team named Jeffrey Lee, who has got King as his nickname, being mocked by a racing driver named Jet Sung from the Wolves team because there was a brand of menstrual pad which sponsored him displayed on his windshield. A team manager named Shen had difficulty to get a sponsorship because Jeffrey's performance continued to decline over years that many sponsors refused to work with him. Because of this, Shen was open to receive any sponsor so that the Lions team could survive until the next year. Apparently, the Lions team had the second racing driver, Lily Liu, who was an ex-winner of the Go-Kart National Championship. She was recruited by Shen last year to become Jeffrey's partner. The competition began fiercely because Lily, who started at 7th place, managed to catch Jeffrey up, which was at 3rd place. At the same time, Jet Sung and his partner took the 1st and 2nd place because they got the best laps in the qualification session last day. When they were about to pass the 8th turn, Jeffrey's automatic transmission suddenly had a problem which caused him and his partner left so far behind the two racing drivers from the Wolves team. Lily decided to catch Jeffrey up immediately so that they could keep their score and join the podium. Unfortunately, when they were entering the 10th turn, Lily had a serious car accident that led her to crash a roadblock. She was immediately sent to hospital to have an operation because of her serious right-hand fractures. Because of this car accident, the Lions team lacked a second racing driver and began to look for a substitute. Lily helped them to look for her substitute by contacting her high school friend, Jack, the pro player in racing game. The reason Lily contacted him was because she knew that he was the world champion in the F1 racing game. Apparently, some car racing teams always recruited their racing drivers based on the data saved in official website of F1 because F1 often held simulation events for the gamers who were enthusiasts about car racing there. They assumed that the gamers who were good in simulation must be also good in the real racing track. Not receiving any answer from Jack, Lily visited Jack in his house to ask him to replace her in the competition. She was confident that Jack could conquer any real racing track because of his experience as the pro player in racing game. Jack, who secretly had a crush on Lily, agreed to help her. He then came to pit stop to show off his skill despite his self-doubt because of his last accident that involved his Toyota AE86 to be severely damaged. Eventually, Jack encouraged himself to drive in the real racing track using a special car that was designed for the racing driver candidates to show off their best skill. He was thrilled because he didn't want to disappoint Lily. The next day, Jeffrey started to show some driving skills to Jack so Jack wouldn't have any self-doubt anymore. But when Jeffrey was driving in a straight track, his vision suddenly was getting blurry. He visited a specialist physician to check his eyes. The doctor told him to retire because he suffered from a brain disease that affects his vision. Jeffrey decided to keep this information to himself so that he could still join the competition until the next year. Lily, who was curious about Jack's competency, which was out of her expectation, found out that Jack was not the actual winner in the F1 simulation event and that the champion photo on Jack's Facebook was just a bait for Lily to contact him. Jack then admitted that he lied about the F1 simulation event even though he did often win other racing game events. Lily then understood, forgave, and gave Jack another chance. She even taught him how to build his stamina and some driving techniques in both wet and dry racing tracks. After a few days of building stamina, Lily invited Jack to visit a bar to find about his weak points. When Jack was playing games, everybody was amazed by his skill. Lily then invited him to her house to test Jack by using a red car owned by her late father. As Jack tried to drive the car, he suddenly became nervous that he failed to control the steering wheel. The qualification session was started to determine the starting grids of the racing drivers. Jack still had problems in driving that he was scolded by another racing driver. Because he started to threaten everyone's safety, Lily took control of the situation and asked for everyone's forgiveness. Lily finally realized that Jack's weakness was his hearing because he wasn't used to the loud noise in the circuit. Lily then decided to buy Jack some earplugs so he could stay focused when driving. The car racing started. Jack, who started at the last place, could successfully pass several cars because he started to find his rhyme. This was because of his earplugs that were given by Lily to help him stay focused. The audience started to cheer when they saw Jack's brilliant performance. From the last place, Jack managed to be at the 3rd place. He didn't realize that he had caught up with Jeffrey and that he was one position away to defeat Jet Sung at the 1st place. When they were about to enter the last turn, Jack successfully took the 1st place. For his victory as the first winner despite he started from the last place, Jack was awarded a Toyota GT86 Silver by his sponsor. This made Jeffrey jealous because it was him that's supposed to be at the first place. The next day, Lily visited an orthopedist to check whether her broken hand could function in near future or not because she was thrilled to participate in the competition. Sadly, doctor recommended her to continue to attend therapy for the next 2 months because her hand was not fully recovered yet. Jack, who knew about this, invited Lily to take a ride with his new car to cheer her up. He switched place with Lily so she could stir the car while he controlled the gear stick. Jack also learned about the wet track that night in order to adapt to the racing track. On the other hand, Jeffrey just realized that his selfishness had hurt all his crew members, especially Shen, his manager. He promised to change and create a crazy plan for the next car racing. The third car racing was held at the same circuit. Jeffrey, who was at third place at that time, ordered Shen to prepare wet tires for him and Jack. He was very sure that it was going to rain soon despite the committees said it was a bright and sunny day. Jeffrey was right because not long after that, it was raining heavily that many racing drivers fell off the racing track. This made the Lions team lead in the competition since they had prepared themselves. Turned out, Jet Sung from the Wolves team didn't stop at pit stop because there was only one turn left in the competition. Jack and Jeffrey were right behind Jet Sung's place. Jeffrey tried to practice slingshot technique that was taught by Shen's father. Jeffrey and Jack managed to pass Jet Sung in the last turn, which was followed by a tremendous cheer from the audience. Unfortunately, their joy was temporary. Just as the Lions team was about to celebrate their victory, Jet Sung suddenly interrupted to give them a proof that Jack had no experience of taking the driving test and a racing license. However, there was a rule that stated if a person was a part of top 50 global pro players in racing game, it meant that this person automatically got a real racing license. Because Jack was the world champion in the racing game, it was a certainty that he had his racing license. The consequence of this problem was the sponsors of the Lions team canceled their contract because they thought Jack was cheating. Because of this, Jeffrey and Shen had a quarrel and blamed each other, which resulted in Shen's resignation from his position. Shen told Jeffrey to take care of the Lions team. The next day, Jeffrey gave his car to Lily because her hand had fully recovered. Jeffrey replaced Shen as the team manager. The ones who would participate in the competition as the racing drivers were Jack and Lily. After Lily finished her training, Jet Sung approached her to give her an offer. He brought a contract letter that stated she would be paid 3 times from her salary now if she would join the Wolves team. He also stated that Jeffrey only thought about himself and never prioritized other people. Lily rejected his offer and said that she would stay in the Lions team no matter what. At the car repair shop, Jeffrey was surprised after his wife found Shen's financial report that stated about how large his contribution was to the Lions team. Jeffrey then realized that he needed Shen back to rebuild their team and look for sponsors who were willing to fund them. At night, Jeffrey visited a dock where Shen lived in his ship that was given by his father. In that ship, Jeffrey admitted all his mistakes to Shen and asked him to come back to the Lions team. He was confident that Lions team would reach their glory and they would get their sponsors back if they worked together. Shen managed to convince a sponsor from a reputable game company to work with them for 2 years, but with one condition. They wanted Jeffrey to return to the racing track and work with Jack. Lily, who heard about it, was very disappointed because Jeffrey didn't keep his promise. Because of her disappointment, Lily came to Jet Sung to join the Wolves team. When Jack saw the news on TV about Lily's union with the Wolves team, he was dumbfounded. He went to the car repair shop to ask Lily about her motivation to join the Wolves team. After hearing the explanation from Jeffrey, Jack finally accepted it so that the Lions team wouldn't disband because they had no sponsor. Shen then told Jack and Jeffrey to prepare themselves because the car racing would start soon. The 4th car racing started. Jack and Jeffrey were at the 3rd and 4th place. They had big chance to win against the Wolves team. Jack, who was at the 3rd place, drove his car quickly to catch up with Lily, who was at the 2nd place. Lily had problems to catch up with Jet Sung, who was at the 1st place, because Jack kept bothering her. Jet Sung, who saw this, decided to harm Lily to secure his place. When he tried to crash Lily's car, Jack pulled out his car, which caused Jeffrey to have a fatal accident. He was sent to hospital immediately to save him from death. Finding that Jack fell into a coma, Jack withdrew from the car racing because he felt guilty. At the same time, Lily had rejoined the Lions team to replace Jeffrey. Jack, who was still in deep sorrow about Jeffrey, visited a street racing spot. He was invited by a mysterious man there to get into his car. When Jack asked him about why he wanted to participate in car racing, the mysterious replied that the answer could be found in Jack himself. Jack then realized that the reason why he joined the racing team was because he wanted to be near his longtime crush since high school, Lily. After that, he came to pit stop to join the racing car competition that would start soon. The last car racing in Shanghai circuit finally started. All participants competed fiercely against each other to become the winner. Lily, who was at the 3rd place, tried to defeat the Wolves team, who were in first 2 places despite not receiving any help from Jack, who was at the 7th place. However, after several laps, Jack could catch up with Lily. He tried to communicate with her to say that she was the reason why he returned to the racing track. Jack wanted to show Lily that he didn't want to be far away from her even if it was just an inch. They used the slingshot technique to beat Jet Sung's partner, Kojiro, at the second place. When they were entering the 8th turn, they managed to pass Kojiro and tried to defeat Jet Sung at the first place. Feeling threatened by their teamwork, Jet Sung began to hit Jack's car. But when he kept hitting Jack's car mercilessly, Jack managed to avoid Jet Sung by pressing the brake pedal. This brought a win to the Lions team, which was Lily's first victory after she had been joining them for years. The Lions team got the highest score and came out as the winner after defeating the Wolves team successfully. Lily felt touched especially because she found out about Jack's feeling for her. Jack came to a street racing spot and challenged the mysterious man for a car racing. The film ended as they were about to start the car racing.